Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why, just as I predicted, Father Time is finally catching up to Tom Brady.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why Russell Westbrook is proving once again he doesn't play well with others. Speak for yourself starts now. Man, I like being right on Russell Westbrook.
I thought Carmelo Anthony's name was who you're going to say there.
No.
All right, hello and welcome. We're joined today by longtime NFL coach Rob Ryan. Rob, I got to admit, I look at you and you make me hungry. That looks like the tablecloth on my mother's kitchen table.
Yes, good
And we're joined by the founder of the big league, Jason McIntyre. Let's start in Miami, where the Dolphins snapped the Patriots' 8-game winning streak in convincing fashion, shutting down Tom Brady and the Patriots' high-powered offense, who converted exactly 0 third downs, the first time that's happened to the Patriots since 1991. Here's Brady after the game.
He's just not playing well. I mean, I don't think there's any magic, potion or anything to take to come down and win. We just didn't play good and got behind and tried to battle back and just couldn't do it. So it's just a bad night. I wish we played better, but we didn't, and we got to move on and try to play a lot better next week.
Brady's been one of the leading MVP candidates this year, but the last 2 weeks he's had a huge drop-off in play. Cowherd, are you worried the 40-year-old Brady is finally showing his age?
Well, if you go the last 5 years, he hasn't been quite as good in December. The seasons do wear him out. That's why I thought Deflategate last year was a break. He took a month off. He's not as great generally at the end of years. He looks a little worn down. But what I really noticed about last night is I was watching the game and I Googled injured Patriot players. 16 different Patriot players this week were on the injury report. The timing was awful. Little out routes that are so easy. We'll scroll it here. They were all on the injury report. As Rob well knows, you get to November and December, this is a game of attrition, and they looked like a little beat up. 4th out of 5th game, 4 out of 5 on the road, including Mexico. That looked like a tired football team.
There's one name on that list that's most important, Rob Gronkowski. Mm-hmm. And I'm someone who thinks that the beating Brady's been taking all this year is going to show up in December and January. But it's hard to judge the guy last night. You've lost Edelman for the season. He's been a security blanket for you. Now you lose Gronkowski because of the dumb stuff he did the week before. And so, again, I expect the beating to take a toll on Brady, but I don't want to go too far because Gronkowski didn't play.
Yeah, I mean, that's his big weapon. The guys on the outside aren't winning right now, though. You look in the Buffalo game, the outside receivers didn't do much. And in that game, they got absolutely shut down, by the Dolphin corners. And then the other thing is the Dolphins front make him slide the protection to Sue because he's so great. And then it's one-on-one, and that tackle wore out, their left guard. So it was a comedy of errors. This team will bounce back. I mean, Brady's so good, but, to quote Giselle, he can't throw it and catch it himself.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I'm sure the Patriots receivers are going to love that. I mean, they couldn't get separation.
They got to get separated.
Right?
They got to work on that. And remember, the Steelers, supposedly all offseason, that's all they worked on was man coverage. Now, I haven't seen any evidence of it yet. But, I have a funny feeling Patriots will figure it out.
You remember the Texans game last year in the playoffs. They did the cover one blitz and a lot of man-to-man, and it rattled Brady. He had 2 picks in that game. And we saw last week against Buffalo. First time since the opening week he didn't throw a touchdown. And he had the pick, and he yelled at his offensive coordinator. And everybody kind of laughed about that, remember? Oh, well, he's yelling at McDaniels. It's no big deal. It's passion and the Odell Beckham stuff. But I wonder if the struggles from last week carried over to this week. I don't know if you guys would agree, but it felt to me like Brady definitely looked 40, okay? He was good last December, as you said, right? 7 touchdowns in 4 games. I mean, he has not looked good this December. I definitely think the age is an issue. And this week's game in Pittsburgh, this is the season. They lose this, and I don't know if they're going to go to the Super Bowl.
Here's the great thing for Brady. They're going to have a bye, and then they're going to have a bye week before the Super Bowl. That helps him. I think where Tom struggles, and the numbers are pretty clear here in the last 5 years, November, December, you play 8 weeks in a row, Tom's an older player. By the way, if he was an older left guard, if he was an older Mike linebacker, there's no question statistically that when Tom gets into the later part of the seasons, his body wears down a little. He can't push the ball. But again, I'll say it, Miami through the years, Jason, plays New England tough in Miami.
Let's just be clear, though. Jacksonville will have a word with you and the Patriots. If the Patriots lose to Pittsburgh, Jacksonville has a shot at getting the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
And so it could be Brady might not get that bye week. And the other thing, tell me if I'm crazy, Colin. Last night, watching that, all I kept thinking about was Jimmy Garoppolo. And I kept saying, they went with the 40-year-old dude, and they had Jimmy Garoppolo.
I know. Well, neither one of us liked that, what they got for that.
And again, Belichick has always been the guy that he'll move on a year too soon rather than a year late. And so I just never understood. This should be, in my opinion, Brady's last year.
Yeah.
It may be a prisoner of the moment. But I mean, Father Time's record is better than Bill Belichick's record.
Hi, guys. Colin Cowherd here. Before the show moves along, I wanted to tell you that Speak for Yourself is brought to you by Freshly. Freshly delivers fully cooked, prepared meals straight to your door. No more coming home, wondering what's for dinner, because Freshly's team of chefs and nutritionists are here to save the day. Skip the shopping, chopping, and cleanup. Boom, it's yours. They're fully cooked. All you have to do, heat them up. Each meal ready in only 3 minutes. Delivery and takeout, hit and miss. You know that. Sometimes it comes cold. Why run the risk? How about guaranteed quality meals from Freshly? Easy, no dishes to worry about. Freshly's menu has it all. Sicilian-style chicken parm, Mediterranean shrimp bowl, sweet and sour chicken. These meals are restaurant quality. To try Freshly out, go to freshly.com/Fox Sports to get $20 off your first week. That's 6 meals for just $39 plus free shipping. This offer's only valid for a limited time. Go to freshly.com/Fox Sports. $20 off, free shipping. That's pretty good. Consider dinner done with Freshly. Now let's get back to the show.
Welcome back, Rob Ryan. J-Mac here. Let's move to Pittsburgh, where the Steelers welcome the Patriots on Sunday. Classic AFC showdown, playoff implications, number 1 seed implications. At 40, Brady's been having one of the best seasons of his career. Carson Wentz is now out. He's probably leading the MVP candidate, but as Chris Collinsworth said Sunday, Pittsburgh's got a guy who deserves to be in that conversation as well.
Roethlisberger deep down the right sideline. Antonio Brown. He's amazing.
There has never been a wide receiver named MVP of the league, but he has to be in that conversation. He has to be.
Does he? Whitlock, should Antonio Brown actually be the MVP favorite over
man,
Brady?
Chris Collinsworth is 1,000% right.
God.
I heard him say it Sunday, and I started repeating it again on Monday. Of course, Antonio Brown should be in the MVP conversation. And what happens this coming weekend, in my mind, should determine it. If AB puts up a great game and they beat New England, or if he just has a great game, I think he should move ahead of Tom Brady in the MVP balloting. The guy's having a Jerry Rice-like season. Big Ben is not as great as he used to be. Their defense, not what it used to be or what it was when Dick LeBeau was running. Who else but AB? They had the best. They may finish with the best record in football.
Well, you said he's having a Jerry Rice-like season. Jerry Rice never won MVP. So if Jerry can't do it, why should a knockoff brand
Jerry
do it?
Rice once finished second to John Elway, the greatest player of all time. And Jerry Rice probably should have won an MVP, and it would be a great honor to Jerry Rice if Antonio Brown did win the MVP.
Wide receivers are convertible sports cars. Once it gets cold, very little value. When's the last first ballot Hall of Famer to show up and win a Super Bowl? 1995, Jerry Rice. They're not that valuable. Julio Jones was going to change the league. Super Bowl, crickets. These guys, by the way, Gronk isn't even valuable. They won a Super Bowl without him. It's a quarterback league.
Without Antonio Brown, what would Pittsburgh be this year?
The best running team in the league with a Hall of Fame quarterback.
They'd probably be 9-4, right?
No, come on, this is a real... By the way, they didn't have Antonio Brown years ago. They won a Super Bowl. They've had a million receivers.
Lynn
Ward,
Swann,
Antonio.
and John Stallworth.
They replace all of them.
It's tough for me to buy he's the MVP when he's not the most valuable player on his own team.
Yes.
Without Ben Roethlisberger, It's a
or
500
Le'Veon
team.
Bell.
Le'Veon Bell. I mean, Juju Smith will step in if Antonio Brown goes down. You got Martavis Bryant. They're good receivers.
They're good.
They're not Antonio Brown. There's a reason why this guy's on pace for 1,800 yards, 2,000 yards. There's a reason why every weekend there's a picture of him dancing on the sidelines, tiptoeing, catching the ball. There's a reason why he had 200 yards against the Baltimore Ravens.
First of all, the Pittsburgh Steelers, great example. When did they win all their Super Bowls? Bradshaw and Big Ben.
Lynn Swann, John Stallworth.
Yeah, but in between all those quarterbacks, there were a bunch of great receivers. They don't win anything. It's a quarterback league. That's why they win MVP. Most valuable? Wide receivers could be more talented. MTP. Antonio Brown's the most talented player in the league.
Most valuable player in the league right now.
Well, he is an MTP. I mean, he is a talented guy. I mean, honestly, there's only 2 receivers in the league that you have to change everything you do to play, and that's Julio Jones and Antonio Brown. I mean, I think you said, he has to have a big game against the Patriots. There's no way they're going to let him have a big game. They're going to jam him and play zone behind it so you can't get him the football because he is that valuable.
That's my point.
But
if somehow he has a big game despite that.
Oh, well, that would be something because, believe me, all the coverage is going to be rolled over to him with the guy jamming him. I mean, that's how they have to do it. But, it is tough to play, MVP. Like, what about, I don't know Russell Wilson's position, but I don't know if he plays defense, offense, and running back, quarterback. I mean, he does so much.
You see him against Jacksonville?
Yeah, but you're living in the moment. Do you know that Russell Wilson has 17 fourth-quarter touchdown passes or touchdowns? It's an NFL league record. He has a month to go. Like, Russell Wilson is literally 89% of Seattle's offense, which is remarkable.
Pittsburgh has the best record in football, and he's the primary reason why their offense, again, just went in and beat up the Baltimore Ravens defense, which had been playing well.
Hold on. Is it insane for me to want to vote Carson Wentz? They had the best record. He has set a franchise record for touchdown passes.
He didn't play the last month.
It's insane.
3 games.
It's insane. Listen,
I tried Carson.
Do we not agree that Jerry Rice is considered by many the greatest player of all time? Not me, John Elway.
A lot of people do, but the people I trust don't. He's a really talented player.
Jerry Rice, there's a lot of people that think he's the GOAT.
I think Walter Payton is as good.
Walter.
I love Walter Payton. And by the way, I wouldn't put either in the top 10.
Jerry Rice is in the conversation, so you can't just disqualify wide receivers as MVPs if Jerry Rice, by some people, the respected people, is considered one of the 3 or 4 greatest players of all time.
Brady's won 5 Super Bowls, never won with Randy Moss. These guys are all icing. The cake is the O-line and the quarterback. That's the cake of a football
Branch,
team.
Remember that?
These guys are all icing. I like icing. You have too much icing, you get sick. If you rely on your receivers, you get sick. You lose playoff games.
Look, man, Jerry Rice is like telepathically wants me to slap you right now. That's ridiculous to be saying that about Jerry Rice.
Welcome back. Rob Ryan, Jason McIntyre here. Let's move to the Pacific Northwest, where the Seahawks will try to rebound this week against the LA Rams. After Sunday's pretty ugly game in Jacksonville, luckily for Pete Carroll and crew, the NFL did not suspend anyone for the melee at the end of the game. And Carroll actually tried to defend Michael Bennett's behavior.
We still had a chance to get the ball back, so we're going to keep trying, and that's what we were doing. And I heard about in the broadcast that they thought he rolled up in the guy's legs. Mike was trying to swipe the snap, and he was trying to time it up and swipe the snap, and that's what he was down on the ground for. Unfortunately, it went out of whack.
All right, Whitlock, you okay with Pete defending Michael Bennett?
No, he's being dishonest. What about the second roll-up on the back of the guy's knees? Let's say you want to excuse the first one. He's swiping for the ball, and he rolled into the guy. Well, isn't that what we criticized Greg Schiano for doing? And we said that's not a part of the NFL, and we don't do that. And if this is so effective, try it on first down in the middle of a game. If swiping at the ball and rolling into the center's legs. Look, for some reason, I don't want to say for some reason, everybody's afraid of Michael Bennett and the race card. And so we're afraid of Michael Bennett. And we excuse anything he does because if you criticize Michael Bennett, he's in that protected category and you get accused of being a racist. Michael Bennett is making a fool of himself this year, the way he handled the situation in Las Vegas and lied on the police. And now this incident here, he's made a fool of himself. Look at what the Chiefs did with Marcus Peters. and look at the results. They drew a line in the sand with Marcus Peters, set him down. They go out to Oakland, win a game of football handedly without him. These teams, instead of putting everything on the NFL, these coaches and organizations individually need to discipline their own guys and quit being afraid of them.
Well, I think Pete Carroll has created a culture, and it's rewarded him over and over. He did it at USC. He's done it in Seattle. It is very pro-player. That's his culture. He's not IBM. It's bring your pet to work Google. It isn't. It is not old school. It's Silicon Valley. Empower the young engineer, the millennials. And it works for Pete, and it works over and over. So he's not going to dog his players. And he generally, and this is the way Pete's been, you know, he leans on 4 or 5 guys in a locker room. Bennett, whether you agree or not, is one of those dudes. Richard Sherman, Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin. Why did he defend him? Because this is what Pete's created, and he has to play up to his brand.
He got fed up with Richard Sherman, and they damn near traded him this offseason.
But they didn't.
Right.
But I think Pete's locker rooms are loud, opinionated, and he defends his guys, and Michael Bennett's one of his guys.
That's a great point you made about Bennett, and I should add that, you remember, the Richard Sherman stuff was also part of the Colin Kaepernick. We want Kaepernick. Remember, this is a locker room that called for him. I just got to say, this is a trouble spot for Seattle. Late in the season, you can't kick your team while they're down, right? The back's against the wall. They must beat the Rams this week. I think the only reason he didn't go after Bennett was because he knows he needs him this week. Like the Chiefs, Marcus Peters sit down. We got Darrelle Revis coming off the bench. I don't think there's a replacement for Bennett. And they can't lose him going into that Rams game, or you're looking at no playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand defending the players and all that because you have to do that, especially if that's his personality, which it's 100% genuine. Pete is that, he's always going to have his players' backs. It just, like you said, Jason, about Siano, everybody's, and they practice it. Remember that? Yeah. That's kind of ridiculous because it's a losing situation. Hey, let's practice this and get good at it. I mean, they got used to it, and that's why he was fired. But I think it's a dumb play, by Bennett. It's a selfish play. He's trying to make a play. I get it, but it looks bad, and it's not really all those great teams and great defense of Seattle. People aren't thinking that they're on there trying to knock the ball out when they're losing. They don't think of that way. It just seems it makes no sense by Bennett to do this, and it's unfortunate.
I just think it's tone deaf by Pete Carroll, and we have a picture of Quentin Jefferson up in the background. And if Pete would just take in totality what happened in Jacksonville, I think he would recognize there's a problem here that needs to be dealt with. But coaches tend to be very tunnel vision. It's all about we got to win the next game. And so everything is driven by that. But what the Seattle did here was cheap. It was poor losers. It was poor sportsmanship. Not just what happened on the field, and then after the game for Quentin Jefferson to do what he did, it's a bad look for the organization. And I just wonder where ownership is. Again, you just can't let everything slide. At some point, what happened to the NFL protecting the brand, protecting the shield, protecting its image? At the end, the 4 fans, they identified 4 fans that they said threw the Gatorade bottles, and they're banned from the stadium forever. They're saying if there's repercussions for the fans, but no repercussions for the players, this just won't stand up.
By the way, Pete did during the game. Didn't he move toward the huddle at one point? He wanted to bring the temperature of the team down. I think you live by the sword, die by it. I think Pete's defense isn't as good. They've lost personnel. The team is so dependent on Russell Wilson. I think it's a tough spot, not because of Pete. I think it's a tough spot because the NFC is loaded. Here comes Aaron Rodgers. The Cowboys look good. But I'll tell you, following Pete like we both have for over a decade, we almost argue this every year with Pete. Like, this is Pete's thing, right? Like, I mean,
ain't been this dirty, this cheap.
Like
not
this.
this.
No way.
Not
That's not Pete. Like that. That's out of control, and that doesn't even look like the great defense. It's they never had to do this stuff. I mean, this looks cheap and it looks just bad. And like you said, it's not the brand. I mean, it looks just bad.
All right, welcome back. Jason McIntyre is back, and we're joined now by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Let's move to Lithuania. We've never been there, which is what LeVar Ball and his 2 younger sons are doing after LiAngelo Ball and LaMelo signed 1-year contracts with a club team that plays in the Baltic League. whatever that is. The move appears to be part of LeVar's very unusual strategy to get his sons out of the United States and into the NBA. All right, all right, Cowherd, will LeVar regret this?
Yeah. I mean, from UCLA to UC cold weather for 11 months. This is a B League rural Lithuanian.
$500 a month is what I understand.
Wow. Yeah, it's just, no reasonable person looks at this. UCLA is one of the most esteemed universities in this country. It has 100,000 people annually apply. That's more than Harvard and Yale. And you pulled your kids, one of them out of it, and another one could have gone there. So now they'll never play college basketball. And I know we frame college basketball as it's bad, the NCAA is terrible.
Better than Lithuania.
It's better than this Lithuanian league.
Yeah, real Lithuanians can ball.
I don't think you can look at this. I mean, I guess Chris knows scouts and GMs, but I go back to this. I just don't think beyond Lonzo, the other kids, and I've seen the video, are as talented. They don't look like NBA talent to me.
Well, I think the youngest son is, but his development process has been thrown into total chaos because they're sending him to go play with adults, and I don't think he's ready for that, even at this lower level, because they're not even playing him, from what I understand, in the main league over there. They're in some sort of developmental league, and the middle son will never be ready for that, perhaps, and the youngest son's just too young for that. But, you know, you're sending your children to a foreign country to live in a village and make $500-600 a month. LeVar Ball has egg all over his face. This is where, you know, the rubber meets the road, and where it just becomes crystal clear he's been making it up as he goes.
The only way this could work is if LaMelo went up, because the other one's not an NBA player, period, LiAngelo. If LaMelo went over there, got beat up in practice, guys are physical over there, he's not good enough to play in Europe, period. He's an NBA prospect as a junior in high school. You know, if he improves, he could have NBA level talent. But right now, he is not good enough to play over there. And that would be good for him if he went over there and LeVar let him be coached, let him be outplayed in practice, let him sit on the bench, maybe get humbled, learn how to run an offense in Europe where they play great basketball. If LeVar would just step back, be quiet, let his son be coached, it could work. All of us know that is highly unlikely that ever happens, and you went to a team that's going to let him chuck it up. From all the reports, they're going to let him chuck it up. They're not going to demand defense. They don't even practice. The real teams in Europe, some of them practice twice a day during the season.
Most do.
Yeah. So the only chance it had of working was to put him in a good program. They haven't done that. They seem to be putting big baller brand ahead of these kids' basketball careers.
Colin, you said this was like a B league in Lithuania. Did you mean B for beer? Because that's what this feels like, a beer league basketball. I'm not kidding. But I will say this, in the short term, is it possible that it's a win for LeVar and the big baller brand? Here's how. Hey, guys, we got cameras there in Lithuania. We are going to stream it on Facebook. We are going to stream the Lithuanian coach F-bombing my sons. And look at this. He can't stay in this. He's not learning anything. And it's content. It's all over the blogs and social media. And LeVar's winning. Whitlock, you buying this? LeVar in the short term is winning, and that's all he cares about.
He's got a younger son that needs to be developed.
Yeah. I would agree.
So, again, streaming and building brands, that's all fine and dandy, but someone has to be developed as a basketball player so they can come over to the NBA or, hell, even play in Europe in their main league and make some real money. This just doesn't work for me. LeVar Ball's issue is like a lot of people. A lot of people, they're always trying to prove they're the smartest guy in the room. And they think the way to prove that is to run their mouth and just talk more than everybody else. And my father told me this a long time ago, you know, hey, man, you got one mouth and 2 ears and 2 eyes for a reason. 4 times as much observing and listening as talking is proof of your intelligence. LeVar Ball won't listen to anybody. He thinks he's smarter than everybody. Smart people listen more than they talk.
I will say this. They're going to do a slight shift from the big baller brand. And we're going to show you the big Baltic brand. I think you guys are being really harsh, Whitlock.
That might have legs.
Some guys who are actually in the NBA, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Melo, the Thunder Big Three, still haven't figured it out. Broussard losing last night to the Hornets, dropping to 12-14. Charlotte's bad, too. After the game, Paul George seemed more than a little frustrated.
It's no panic mode, but we have to start playing better. It's getting to a point where, you know, we can't allow ourselves to be at this point. You know, we can say we're gonna figure it out. We can say all that, but at some point it's got to stop.
Whitlock, time to blow up the Big Three in OKC?
Yeah, it's time for Billy Donovan to go back to college basketball. It's time for Carmelo Anthony to go to the bench. And it's time for Paul George to be dealt to a team that's trying to win a championship.
Wow.
The OK3 can't, it's just not going to work. And Chris, we're all old enough, maybe not McIntyre, but George McGinnis and Dr. J tried to play together in Philadelphia, and it just
They were much better than this, though.
It didn't work.
They
Well,
got
by the way,
to the finals, didn't they?
But Barkley and Scottie Pippen, that one, the clash.
At the end.
Yeah.
These guys are in their prime.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, Billy Donovan, he doesn't have, I don't believe, the strong enough personality to put Melo on the bench. Melo does need to go to the bench in his 15th year, but is Billy Donovan strong enough to go ahead and do that? Or is he strong enough to say to them, look, the way we've been doing it is not working. Everybody going ISO playing one-on-one. This is how we need to play. Let's get it done. I don't think he's going to do that. So to your point, maybe you need to get him out of there. Paul George, I would give it till the first week of January. Call me crazy. I would still give it a few more weeks.
3 weeks.
And then if it doesn't show improvement, I would move Paul George. I think Cleveland would definitely be right there at the top of the list trying to get him, and I love that move for the Cavs.
I'm on board. I think you got to wait a little bit before you blow it up. But, Chris, let me push back on you, okay? So you know that the NBA is a star-driven league.
Yeah.
You remember when Mike D'Antoni went with Carmelo and they had a dust-up in New York over Jeremy Lin? What happened to D'Antoni? They fired him, okay? David Blatt tried to do some coaching of LeBron. They got rid of him, okay? Billy Donovan is not going to get in the way of Russell Westbrook in OKC. The GM, Presti's going to go to Russell.
Coach? Do you just want to keep being mediocre?
I think you need to talk to Russell Westbrook. I keep coming back to him. He's the star. He's the highest paid player. He's got the ball in his hands. He's got to say, listen, guys, we want to build something. Paul George, Melo, you got to listen to me. I'm the leader here. Follow my lead. And I don't see that from Westbrook. Again,
do you think Westbrook could get Melo to agree to go to the bench?
This is a guy who feuded with his old point guard, Reggie Jackson. Serge Ibaka didn't want to play with him.
As
you said, hold on.
You jumping on Westbrook for feuding with Reggie Jackson?
Yeah, and Serge Ibaka. And then listen,
Are you
said it on the
serious?
show. Enes Kanter leaves. He thrives. Victor Oladipo leaves. He's averaging like 25 a game.
No, I mean,
at some point, you got to admit,
I see you were listening to the
Westbrook
herd
is
this
difficult
no,
to play with.
Listen, there is some data. The NBA Players of the Week this week were 2 former Westbrook teammates.
There you go.
Oladipo last year, we said he can't play. We're like, he was just the NBA Eastern Conference Player of the Week.
Why aren't they former Billy Donovan players?
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, Harden wasn't Billy Donovan, leading in the MVP.
He was young then, though.
Okay,
that was
let me do the team that used to play with Westbrook: KD, Harden, Oladipo, Sabonis, Enes Kanter. Their numbers are all up.
Listen,
and by the way, Paul George's numbers are down with Westbrook.
Look, I think there's some truth in what you're saying, but don't ignore the elephant in the room, and it's Carmelo's ego. He's in his 15th season. We've seen Dwayne Wade raise his hand and say, I'm going to do what's best for the team and go to the bench, and look what it's done for the Cleveland Cavaliers. You would think Melo would have that kind of self-awareness and confidence to make it easier on the coach, make it easier on everybody, but he doesn't. They got the wrong coach. They got the wrong mix. It's just not working. And look, I'm not – there's some truth to what you're saying about Westbrook and others. He is hard to play with.
Some people – by the way, we've all worked with somebody. They're talented. They don't play well with others. That's a real thing in every business.
I'm with you. Like Whitlock said, there's no doubt you're saying there's some truth to what you're saying. But instead of jumping on Westbrook, Paul George is shooting a career high from 3-point. 41%. He's shooting 42% overall. This is the third year in his career that he shot 42%. So this isn't like totally unusual for Paul George. When I look at their 3 stars, I see one that's been to the finals, and it's Russell Westbrook. I see one that's been to 5 Western Conference finals. That's 2 more than the other 2 guys, George and Melo, combined. So why are we jumping on Westbrook? Why aren't we looking at those 2 and Billy Donovan, the guys who haven't gone as far as he has, even though he hadn't won a title?
Let me add to your point. Kevin Pritchard, general manager, president of the Pacers, he liked a tweet today mocking everybody that was on him about giving away Paul George. And again, he's mocking, the theft of Paul George. And again, I'm a Pacer fan. And Paul George is almost a superstar, but it's almost. He's not a real superstar. And you wonder if he's really a guy. He's seen as one thing, but his production and who he really is something completely different.
Well, he went to the Eastern Conference Finals twice against LeBron. I mean, again, he got knocked down by LeBron.
When Westbrook did it 5 times, you give him no credit.
He had Kevin Durant on his team.
I mean, LeBron hadn't gotten to the finals without great teammates. You need teammates.
Kevin Durant's like, I'm out of here.
You need teammates.
Why don't we just admit, I got it right on Westbrook and go to the next segment?
Partially right.